Hello, and welcome to this live code hangout. Today we're going to be working on an exercise and workout app. We're going to add some subscriber-only features to this. The app is open source on GitHub, and I'll get that set up in just one moment. I'll be right back. So here we are, we've got the app, workouts, and we've managed to get it deployed to, what are we using? Not Netlify, it's Cloudflare pages, and it's working pretty good. The reason we needed to switch from the GitHub pages to something like Netlify or Cloudflare pages is so we can run some server-side code to validate and access certain resources. So we want to validate that the user has a subscription, and we want to gate some routes with that. I see my CI is breaking. I'm going to CI. I feel like that's a bit annoying. It's because we're still trying to deploy to GitHub pages. I forgot to clean that up. So today we're just going to have a casual coding day. A little bit under the weather, but feeling well enough to work on the project a bit. So here is our project, and I was just checking out the Svelte config here. We've got the main branch open, and I'm just going to change this GitHub workflow real quick for our deploy. Or was that from the CI? Yeah, we no longer need this. Essentially, we just want to run the tests, and the interesting thing is now Cloudflare Pages handles the build and deploy for us based on GitHub webhooks, so that's pretty convenient. I think I can just delete this. Deploy script. GitHub Pages is really nice though, and a lot of apps can just run straight. If it's just client-only logic, it's a great option for free hosting. We'll go ahead and commit this change. There it goes. Just a little bit slow. No problem. Up, wrong one. Now we're gonna see what the remove GitHub Pages deployment workflow. Basically, we're going to commit to the main branch here. It's a big, small change. In other words, I'm removing a critical piece of infrastructure, sort of the deployment setup, but it's no longer in use. And it's one file, so it's very small in terms of lines of code change. So this should just pass because it has one less step to run. It's just going to run the tests, and then Cloudflare Pages here is building and deploying code revisions. Very cool. So we're going to go into some uncharted territory. This whole project has been a lot of uncharted territory. I'm learning about Svelte and SvelteKit, physiology a little bit, like physical training, learning about anatomy, and today we're going to learn about Stripe, payment processing, and subscriptions. The goal is to keep this app open source and continue development while expanding into some features that are actually going to introduce some costs, some actual infrastructure costs mainly, that could potentially explode if there's a lot of users. These costs could accelerate quite quickly and abruptly. So in order to develop certain features that need like a database backend, namely and user authentication, I'm using Supabase. And Supabase they have fairly reasonable free tier, and even their next step up, while it's a kind of a big step cost-wise monthly, it's 10 or 20 or 30 euros. It's gracious. It includes a lot. But then after that, they're like, contact us for further pricing. So that's very ambiguous. I don't like when companies do that. They kind of want to feel you out, see how much money, how much revenue you're generating, and have their sales team kind of negotiate it. Rather than just, fair usage cost-based structure, they're looking more at aspects like that I think are not really, honestly, their business. A lot of companies do this, but anyway, so Supabase is doing that too. They want to make sustainable revenue, and if it's a big company, they want to charge them more, and maybe offer a tailored service. Who knows? Yeah, there's some great areas. It's very gray and ambiguous. I think their mid tier though does allow you to scale the resources, server resources and things at a fair sort of fixed rate. The frightening thing is that people have experienced is these resource spikes, usage spikes that can be very abrupt and can be driven by non-human traffic, like bots crawling your sites, hitting your sites, and trying to DDoS your site and things like that. And all of a sudden you get this really big bill. And who's responsible for that, for protecting the site from that bill? Is it Supabase, or is it me that should just foot the bill for the bot abuse? So these are kind of ambiguities we get into with certain types of software or platform as a service, which Supabase is, and it's an excellent platform as a service. So I'd like to, that was a big digression, but the point is here that even just with normal usage, I'm potentially going to be paying out of pocket for these costs, and so introducing a very small subscription model I think is good. It's a fair ask for this project while keeping the code open source. So that's the goal. Project may or may not succeed. That's all sort of uncertain, out of my hands to a large degree. I'll try what I can do to help it succeed. We do have some reference code that I've opened up over here and an article on recurring payments. So there's a SvelteKit Stripe package, so that's kind of cool. It just needs a couple of environment variables, which is interesting. And we'll have to manage this. And yeah, the environment. Okay. File. Then we initialize Stripe. Cool. And we've got Stripe we can do stuff with. Cool. And let's check context 7. It's a relatively small library, so it's probably not indexed by the context 7. We're going to be using a large language model to help us go over here. Need a form. And so this all can work only in the client. But if we want to track it, we would need to handle these webhooks. So it's a bit complex. All right, so Svelte Stripe is not in context 7. For what it's worth, if you're not familiar, context 7 is a way to add API documentation, up-to-date documentation to your large language model chat or agent using language server protocol, or just like copy and paste. For example, if you're building a Next.js app and we want to work with something like the router, I'm thinking of the right thing, app router, there's docs and examples, and I can copy the whole raw thing here, or you can provide a link and integrate this with an MCP server that they have running, so that actually the agent can run a search against that and get the results. So that's pretty cool. So Svelte Stripe seems like a pretty good contender for helping us out. But ideally, I would use just the rendered Stripe payment. I wouldn't have to deal with any of this. And what kind of... like they have a Stripe Express checkout. And some server code. Oops. So let's see what we can do. Enterprise stack is just looking for more reference code, trying to plan a little bit ahead before I just dive straight into code. They have payments. You can use Stripe elements for more custom. It's dynamic. Enterprise stack. Using Prisma, so here we're using Supabase, but this is interesting. Prisma should be able to interact with Supabase since Supabase is based on Postgres. Let's just check. Payment. Pricing page, just to see what it's doing on the server. Checkout. Well, this SaaS starter kit is a bit more fully fledged in terms of the flow, and on this branch I've actually set up a test for a protected route, if I recall correctly. Okay, I've never opened a pull request, so I haven't synchronized the changes. Let's do that. Create a pull request here. Here I have just a few changes. We cleaned up the OAuth list and pricing plans. Yeah, this is interesting. And this is what we need, the subscriber only layout and page component with authentication checks. Yeah, and the Stripe product ID is not really a protected thing, so I can check that in. As far as I recall, because it needs to display them on the pricing plan page, so that was already kind of part of the part of the source. All right, we'll create this. Alright, this is going to be a short stream today. I'm going to work for about 10 more minutes getting this initial setup. And then come back to this. Ending and type check. Failing. I'm using PNPM, or are we using NPM for this one? In the wrong folder, that's the problem. Everything's unchanged. What? So what's the deal? What's the deal? Protected layout Svelte has Oh, yeah. We're using it in this slot, so you have to export that. Interesting. Couldn't we ignore that for this line and see what's the syntax for that? Yeah. I think I have answered this question. You'll see my name here, perhaps, but maybe not. double underline and squiggly, but it's not going to give me the information. I think I may have missed it. Export limit. Are we modifying it in this slot? Just ignore it. Hmm. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna have to just ignore it. Let's see if the CI passes this time. It's like a SvelteKit rule. Not quite ESLint, although being caught in ESLint. I don't know. It's a cool project overall. The architecture is following best practices, mostly, and from what I can tell, well organized. Prettier and ESLint and everything else. The svelte ignore export let unused comment is not properly associated with the export statement. Oh yeah, so you can instead of at the top of the file. Ooh. See, this is opaque. So I just don't. There's no way. I don't remember that stuff. The issue is still not fully resolved. Let's try a more direct approach. There are two main ways to fix this. Data is actually needed in a child component. Let's fix this. Adding simple reference to the data in the component itself. Wow, so this agent mode is much more sophisticated. It's going through and actually traversing the project, looking at multiple files, taking actions. Even it's able to call command line. Tools. Let's see. It follows best practices actually using the data you're importing. It avoids potential linting issues. Alright, let's keep these changes and see what happens here. So essentially what it's done is just remove the comment and actually makes sense. And this is our protected route. We have to just use the data. And I think it just wasn't set up to use it. Okay, all right. Because this is just like a very minimal experiment to wire things up, that we have a route guard that prevents people from accessing certain pages unless they're a subscriber. Boom. All right, that should be good. I like that. The linter and the CI caught it, and it's better to sort of try to swim with the current of the linter and CI than, I think, to ignore it. So that was actually a better solution than my initial instinct was to ignore it. Okay. Very small thing, and this is not a critical project. This is a test. I just want to merge these changes in so we've got a pattern to follow. And when I come back, we're going to try to implement the next session. We're going to try to implement this pattern in an actual project or merge the projects. That's another option. I haven't quite decided. It might be less effort and energy to actually just merge the existing exercises app into this starter kit, which is already wired up for subscriptions and Stripe webhooks and everything else. So go ahead and merge this pull request as prior art, proof of concept, and SvelteKit SaaS starter kit test if you want to check out the code on GitHub. So I'm Briley. This has been another live code hangout. I hope you're doing well and have a great day.